Awesome. I think we're live. It looks like we're live.
We
All
are.
systems go. Kirk, Matt, you good to go?
Yeah, we're good.
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's do it then. This is Jason Stone, Kirk Miller, and Matt Barrios over at Logos, and we'll do some self intros in a second. But we want to take some time to talk about merch matchups while we've got your attention here. So while people are jumping on and joining the live stream, why don't you take a moment and share what you've been voting on in March matchups? And I'd love to hear. There's like so much good content, so many good resources in March matchups, and I'd love to see if you have a second, drop in the comments of this live stream, or over here. I'm not sure where the chat box is, but take a second and let us know what you've been voting on in March matchups. So yeah, I'm Jason Stone. I'm the senior community manager at Logos, and I've got Kirk and Matt with me. Kirk, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your role at Logos, and then Matt, would you mind following?
Yeah, I before this I was a pastor, and so I was a Logos user since, well, probably around like 15 years or so, I think. And so I kind of know what it's like to be in the seat of a Logos user and to use it for regular ministry as well as academic work. But now I serve here at Logos as an editor for our blog, Word by Word, as well as host of What in the Word. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. But yeah, Matt, off to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kirk. Me and Kirk work extremely closely. We collaborate on basically everything. We're both on the content marketing team. My role is as a digital
I feel like the
content
third
manager.
wheel. You guys just pulled me in to help out. You guys are like best friends, and I'm just kind of here. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, it's not a bicycle situation; it's a tricycle situation, and we're enjoying it, you know.
Love
But yeah, what I do with digital content is I'm usually behind the scenes doing a ton of production stuff. For example, for our What in the Word show, and so on. And love working with Logos. Before working here, I was a pastor for about 8 years. Went to seminary at Talbot School of Theology, connected to Biola University. So yeah, excited to see what we're doing with March matchups. Jason, take it away.
So if I was just thinking, not everybody's probably familiar with March matchups. So before we got into the brackets and started talking about what's going on here, I thought it'd be great to just give a rundown of what March matchups is, because we're going to take some time and unpack the resources that are voted on and kind of making their way through the brackets. But what was it? Back in February, we threw the bracket up on the website and said, you've got an opportunity to let us know what you want on sale, essentially, through the month of March. And so, Matt, can you confirm my screen is shared? There you go. So I was just going to say, before we got into it, what you're looking at right here is the bracket, right? The March matchups bracket. So there's a lot of goodies here, and each week, if I can confirm that, each week the titles are working their way. I don't want to say against one another because they're all goodies. They're all good. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but they're competing for your votes, and there's still some time left for you to jump in and get us through the rest of the bracket here. But we wanted to highlight a few of the big dogs, essentially, for the month of March. Kirk and Matt, did I sum that up decently well? Anything you'd add to it?
Yeah, so as you're voting as a resource or a collection goes further down the bracket, it gets further discounted, and so that's kind of the idea, is pick your discounts. And some of the items have already been knocked out. We're about halfway through. It's interesting. Hallett was knocked out. That's a huge resource, a key lexicon for the Hebrew Bible, for the Old Testament. I also saw Bavinck and Joel Beeke's systematic theologies were knocked out. I know Bavinck is sort of having a moment right now where everyone's obsessed with him, and I've been seeing a ton of people loving Joel Beeke's commentary as well. So those ones are already out. They're already discounted, as well as several others. We're going to be talking, I think, about the ones that are still in the bracket, though, for the rest of our time.
I know. That's what I wanted to clarify, is that just because they're knocked out, okay, Hallett is knocked out, but we've got a discount available right now. So if you were to jump into the brackets and take a look, you could make your way to at the top, the Get Deals section, and browse the those resources that have been knocked out essentially already. So they're on sale and marked down pretty well. So
and don't forget the Hall of Fame items. These are the winners from previous years. So there is the New International Commentary, the Zondervan Exegetical Commentary, and the Word Biblical Commentary. So those are all winners from previous years, I believe, and so we have those on sale as well.
Nice. There you go. I was going to jump over and just, at the top of the bracket, you can make your way to the all the live deals. Okay, just wanted to point that out before we jumped into any of them. Where do you want to start, Kirk? Where do you want to go from here?
Let's just start at the first one you have there, the Lexham Church Fathers and the Lexham Language Suite, and we'll just work our way down.
Awesome. Easy. I mean, it's from Lexham, so you know it's good. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So these are so we have actually those two that are still live. Here we go. So the Lexham Press Church Fathers, this is a collection of works on the Church Fathers, so historical theologies essentially. So most of these are monographs. There's some others, like there's a collection of prayers, but those are works on the Church Fathers, historical theology. And then the Lexham Press Original Language Suite, this is going to be a collection, kind of everything you need to get started. It has actual original language texts, so Greek and Hebrew texts, as well as Septuagint, some interlinears, but then it also has some grammars, some resources on text criticism, and some other resources. So it looks like this is a pretty close race right now, with the Church Fathers a little bit ahead there.
That's a close one, yeah.
So
I was going to ask who you're voting for, but I don't want you to show your cards. So,
well, I don't know what I would pick on that one. But whether
I'm curious,
they're very different. They're very different.
I know if you're watching and you drop your vote, I'm curious. Leave it in the comments. I'm curious what you vote for.
Yeah. Is this
definitely?
It's such a dead heat. It's like a Ferrari versus Red Bull sort of situation, F1 scenario where it's just like, okay, who's going to beat each other out for the champions? So yeah. And I love that it's two Lexham bundles that are there. So
this next one is terribly surprising. It looks like the New Studies in Biblical Theology is definitely going to win. That is an excellent series. I love this series. So this series
showed who I voted for.
You always showed who you voted for. It's an excellent series where essentially every monograph, every book in this volume is dedicated to a biblical theological theme and unpacking that through scripture or through its specific section of scripture. The Christian Tradition is a series of works by Jaroslav Pelikan, who is, I believe he was a Yale church historian. And so this is going to be a work of historical theology tracing the development of doctrine. So if you're interested in, he covers the entire history of the church. So this is going to cover how doctrines were formulated, how Christians thought about different doctrines over every century. If you're going to ask me, I would vote for the New Studies in Biblical Theology series, as it looks like most people are doing, but both of those are going to be super helpful resources to have. And
I was going to point out, I feel like people are used to seeing this because it's that silver cover. And so maybe that, just mentioning that, you kind of have the IBP, that Black Dictionary series, and so you're like, oh, I know what that is now that you mention it. But this is that silver series. And do you remember how many? There you go. It says 53 volumes.
Like 50 some, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
so
keep adding to it.
It's that silver or gray looking giant biblical series that you see in the library. So. All right.
Yeah. So here we have the New International Dictionary of Theology and Exegesis, the Old and New Testaments. And these are not lexicons. So lexicons are going to give you information on Greek and Hebrew words and such based on more linguistic data. These are going to be almost like, well, really, it is going to be like a dictionary article on different words and associated words across both the Old and New Testament. But it's going to be focused maybe a bit more on how the words are used theologically in different biblical contexts. So it's going to explore themes, concepts, and the doctrinal significance of words rather than just linguistic analysis. This is like, if you go to seminary, any seminary worth their weight is going to have these on the shelves in the library. This is a resource that most pastors want to own. And so definitely a valuable one here. The handbooks for exegesis. These are going to be introductory books, sort of presenting some of the basic ideas and issues related to each corpus of the Bible. So Pentateuch, prophets, apocalyptic literature, gospels, etc. There's a book dedicated to each of those parts of scripture, and they're going to cover things like the genre of that section, textual issues, historical context, major themes. And then it's really meant to be something that a pastor can use or someone who's preaching, because it's going to include a section on how to interpret these books as well as on how to preach and apply them. And so these are going to be valuable as well. So
yeah, these are good. This is a good matchup right here. I thought it'd be closer. Honestly,
I thought it would
like,
be too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably vote for the Dictionary of Theology and Exegesis if it were me. So I'm a little bit, it's interesting, but obviously everyone has their own take.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. And then we've got our fourth and final matchup in round 3.
Oh yeah, this one's interesting. So I mentioned before our Hall of Fame, we had the Word Biblical Commentary. And so that one won one of these past years. The Word Biblical Themes Collection is a collection of books that they sort of supplement those commentaries. So I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that each of the folks who authored these theme books, these Word Biblical theme books, it's the same person who wrote the commentary on that book. So for instance, whoever wrote the commentary on 1 Corinthians in the Word Biblical Commentary then writes the theme book for 1 Corinthians. And so these are really valuable resources, I think, especially for like a preacher. Like if you're preaching through a book like 1 Corinthians, you can get really granular. You can get down into the details with your Word Biblical Commentary. But sometimes when you come across a theme in a passage, it's helpful to span out and see how that theme is used across the entire book and look at the broader theology of that topic in the book. And so these are meant to be sort of supplementary resources that you can dive deeper into those themes. So these are really valuable. The Zondervan Counterpoint series, I imagine a lot of folks are familiar with these. This is the multi-view books from Zondervan specifically. And so these are books where, say, it's various views on the historical Adam or various views on predestination or what have you. They're going to bring in authors who represent different views, and each is going to provide a chapter, and then they're all going to respond to each other. And so these are really, it's a really unique format and a nice way to kind of get introduced to a theological or biblically debated issue. And so I know a lot of folks value these as well. So pretty interesting. I don't know which one I would pick on this one if I was to vote. I think both of these are valuable resources. It looks like the Zondervan Counterpoint, though.
I got distracted looking at all the different views, counterpoints, and all the different doctrines and topics that the series. Do you remember, and I should have confirmed this before we hopped on, but that's fine. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this anyways. The discounts for round 4. Like, what are we looking at for round 4 and then the round 3 and round 4?
If we click into round 2, to one of the ones that was knocked out, and we go, you can still click on that page that looks sort of grayed out, the Complete Biblical Library set. If you just click right there, it'll take you to the product page where you'll see, solid percentage off for those. So if we're at 45% off already for round 2, then you could see how it's going to expand as we keep going.
I was really curious. Hallett right now is 45% off, which is absolutely incredible. I feel like there's so many people that have it in their wish list. So
if you go to rules, the rules section, it tells you what the discounts are per tier for every round. So it goes 40, 45, 50, 55, 57, and then the champion, it will be 60% off.
And 60% off, like when I hear 60% off for like anything, I'm like, that's a steal of a thing, right? Like the only way that, that's practically clearance. Like we need to get this off the shelf because of inventory troubles, So luckily we don't have that issue as a digital company, but 60% off is a solid
I want to
deal.
see 60% off some of these round 3 items. So
the thing is too, it's not just 60% off some random resource. Like normally clearance is kind of like whatever's left over. The nice thing about these March matchups is that we're offering discounts on some of the best resources, like Hallett, and like in previous years, the new international commentary. Like these are people's favorite resources that we're offering these steep discounts on.
Yep. Awesome. Any questions or anything from the chat that you wanted to highlight, Matt?
Nothing in the chat, but I did want to ask you guys a question. Looking back at the bracket, if we see how this is playing out, what do we see might happen in the next round of 4? Are we going to see what pitted against what, right? And
looks like Lexham Press Church Fathers pitted against the NSBT.
Yep. I would venture to guess that the New Studies in Biblical Theology will win that round and go to the championship.
Yeah. And then you've got the handbook, exegetical handbooks, and then Zondervan counterpoints.
I would guess Zondervan counterpoint, and then if I had to guess, this is like filling out a bracket, right? And like guessing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Guess New Studies in Biblical Theology is winning it all. You heard it here.
I don't know. I
feel like I'm on ESPN right now. I feel like I'm on
ESPN. And there's a whole bunch of people that are filling out their own brackets right now, just putting them.
I'm sure. You know, sports betting has become such a thing. Now people are going to start betting on this too. Like, we can bet on anything now. But,
don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, this is not worthwhile to bet on at all. But
anything could happen. Remember that.
Anything could happen. One thing I'm excited to see is that even for the champion at 60% off, that's amazing. But the runner-up is still 57% off. You said, Kurt. So I'm in big savings no matter what.
Yeah.
Great. Well, this is good. I'm glad we covered this. Kirk and Matt, anything else before we wrap up?
There should be a link, if we didn't mention this yet, there should be a link in the video description or chat that you can follow to access these things. So just in case you're wondering how to get to these deals or how to get to the bracket to vote, you can find it there.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited. This is like one of the big highlights of the year, I feel like, for Logos. This is a lot of fun to get get the users and get our community involved and get them in their voting and selecting the discounts that they want on the resources that they want. So this is cool.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. Thanks everybody who's either watching live or going to catch the replay. Get your vote ins. We've got another round